Hello everybody. We have here a update on the 2020 hurricane season. As you guys can see, we have the newly formed Tropical Storm Gonzalo. Now Gonzalo is pretty far in the Atlantic, as you can see, pretty far there. Yeah, this on this lighter cone, you see the Lesser Antilles. So it has a long way to reach them, but it is already, as of the 8:50 a.m. National Hurricane Center update, it actually got upgraded to a tropical storm. Here in the screen it says tropical depression, but that's because this is as of the 5 a.m. update. So they haven't updated that. They said that we're going to update it on around 11 a.m. But let's go back and take a look of what else is going on. So you see the circle where it says 7, that's where it's located. Then you have the orange, and it's looking pretty, going back to 7, or Tropical Storm Gonzalo, you can see that actually it looks pretty round, which is an indication that it's strengthening, and that's why it got upgraded. Now, if you look on the left side of the screen, you can see the 40% over there with a little X is. That's actually Invest 91L. That's the closest area to the United States at the moment. Now, if we go through the tropical weather outlook, a tropical wave is producing a large area of disorganized showers and thunderstorms over the eastern Gulf of Mexico. So that's talking about the orange mark. And basically is basically saying that central and South Florida and western Cuba, gradual development of the system is possible while it moves west-northwestward, and a tropical depression could form during the next few days. So what this tells me, if you look in the radar, which I can show you guys the radar soon. But what this tells me, this system still has a pretty good chance of developing, because we're gonna go back and take a look at that. But before we do, let's look at the Tropical Storm Gonzalo's cone, because the interesting thing is, usually when you have systems that form this far east, what ends up happening is, as it gets to, let me get a little bit of a marking there. Usually once you get to like this area, or further this way, sorry for my terrible arrow, but when you go to this area like south of Puerto Rico there, or Dominican Republic, usually storms start weakening, and once they pass the Lesser Antilles, then what ends up happening is that they weaken, but then once they get to the south of Puerto Rico, that's when they start picking up steam again. But the fact that the National Hurricane Center actually has it going all the way, crossing all that area as a tropical storm, is a little worrisome, because the areas here, let me mark, actually change the color. This water here, like all this, is extremely warm right now. There's a ton of upper heat content, like I explained in some of my other videos, meaning that's fuel for the storms. So the fact that National Hurricane Center has Gonzalo staying and maintaining its strength as a tropical storm, once it hits that area, this area here, is definitely going to strengthen significantly as it moves westward. Now, if it all depends also, if it hits, if it goes like kind of like that, and it shoots the gap and it doesn't really hit anything, that's trouble, because they ain't no having interaction with any kind of, any land, is going to be bad. It's just going to keep on getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and nothing is going to slow it down. And it has the potential for it, because if it's going to make this stretch and survive all this as a tropical storm, then that means it's going to have really good chance once it hits this area here. And that's the worrisome thing about this particular storm. Now, what time frame are we looking at? Well, we're expecting, based on the National Hurricane Center, that by this weekend it should be crossing south of Puerto Rico. That's when we're going to have a pretty good idea where this is going. Any increase in intensity and so we're gonna have a pretty good idea about that. If we go to let's take a look. Let me actually go back and take a look at the 5-day graph, so that way you can know pretty much what's going to be going on with 91L, which is in the Gulf of Mexico. Now this is not going to be a Harvey. I'm not expecting that. But if you guys remember history, Harvey actually it intensified in a matter of like 3 days. Now Harvey had a different track. Harvey actually came from this area and kind of went up like that. This one has a slightly different angle. But the fact that it is actually has a few days, the water temperatures in the Gulf are very warm, conditions are actually somewhat favorable for development. I wouldn't be surprised if we get probably a tropical storm, strong tropical storm, or even a weak Category 1 hurricane. I mean, it's a long shot, but I think it's very, very possible. Now in the Eastern Pacific, we have Douglas, and Douglas actually, as you guys can see, is approaching Hawaii. And with Douglas, let me go back and show you the cone with Douglas. Seems like Douglas has potential of actually making it to Hawaii. As you can see, Hawaii is here and is dead on making landfall as a tropical storm, and that's expected because that area so far north, they tend to, as you can see, is hurricane status all the way up, but as it gets closer to Hawaii, it starts weakening, and that's expected. It's moving further north, and that's usually what ends up happening with the storms. They develop, they get strong, sometimes even major hurricanes, and then as they get closer to Hawaii, they start weakening. So again, probably a rain event for the Hawaiian Islands. Not much. I'm not expecting much of it, other than probably a little bit of wind and mainly rain. Now, let's go back to tropical tidbits. I wanted to show you the satellite imagery so you guys can see what is going on. This is Gonzalo right now, Tropical Storm Gonzalo. So you can see it's kind of lost a little bit of characteristics compared to last night, but it's still holding on. And remember, there is a lot of Saharan dust in the area, but it's actually holding on pretty good. So that's actually pretty impressive that it's holding on. Now, what is going on with that? Well, let's take a look at the different models. The GFS. Speed it up a little bit so you guys can see Gonzalo kind of here. Now the GFS has it kind of like going away and not really developing into anything, surprisingly. So sometimes this happens where the forecast models are very they underestimate some of the storms. So as you guys can saw there, a little spike, and then kind of like weakening and pretty much just disappearing, which is interesting. See, it drops to like 980 something out of the sudden, but then weakens. Now let's go back and see the European model, which yesterday actually had it getting stronger and then kind of riding on, but it's also not showing it. It's actually showing, I think it was actually another wave behind it that was expecting to do that. So today's a totally different forecast. And that's the thing with these forecast models. You can't really trust them 100% because it changes. The new GFS is not even picking it up. Canadian model, let's see the Canadian model. See, the Canadian model has it right there. But again, fizzling out and not really becoming anything. So it seems like we're not in agreement, even though the National Hurricane Center already upgraded to a tropical storm. Seems like the forecast models are not in agreement, and they're not even picking it up. So that's actually pretty interesting that they're not. Now let's check this other website. If you guys are seeing, obviously, this, This particular website, I love this website because it tells you the intensity of the storms, the spaghetti models. So let's take a look at the spaghetti models for 91L, which is the one that is in the Gulf. So these are the spaghetti models. As you can see, definitely making landfall in Texas, Houston area. The intensity of it. So like I said, mid-range, actually mid-range, and then you have that one model that has it past category 1, which is most likely not happening. But the black line there, that's the current track, and the other lines, the other spaghetti models, are basically what they're estimating that it's going to go. So it's definitely going to make landfall in Texas as a probably as a strong as a medium to strong tropical storm. Now let's take a look at, let me see if Gonzalo shows up here. Yeah, they don't have a spaghetti model on Gonzalo. Oh yeah, here it is. Yeah, here it is. Okay, so same thing, same cone. But now this is actually interesting, how you guys can see how the majority of the forecast has it definitely tropical storm, but about almost half of them have it as a category 1, and then you have one model, the same model that was overdeveloping 91L in the Gulf, now is actually saying the same thing about this one, that it's going to be stronger than a category 2 hurricane. Now it is possible, but it is in the middle of nowhere, so at this point, who knows what exactly is going to happen. Now, again, the black line in the middle, that shows the current track. The other models are showing where it's potentially going to go. Now, the majority of the actual forecast models or spaghetti models are showing that they're pretty tight as far as a track, and all of them are having it south of Puerto Rico. So that's an agreement that is definitely going to go through that area. Now, it's a long shot, so we have to wait and see what happens. But so far, that's what we have on Gonzalo, newly Tropical Storm Gonzalo, and what we have on the other 91L. So stay safe, guys. Again, stay active on this, looking and watching the tropics. Subscribe to my channel, like my video, put any comments in the comment section, any questions. Until later, any new updates, anything changes, I'll keep you guys posted. Have a good day.